So this is book 4, chapter 6 from Bellarmine. He says of the fourth position, it is probable and may piously be believed that not only as Pope can the Supreme Pontiff not err. And this is why I say, and I think when he's saying error here, they're talking about the error of heresy. They're not talking about a lower grade of error. I think they're talking about the grade of heresy. So whenever this seemingly is accepted by the Council Fathers as interpreted through the Relatio, they're not saying that the Pope can't teach error of lower grades in his magisterium. What they're saying is that he can't teach heresy. And neither can he even be privately a formal heretic. Not only as Pope can the Supreme Pontiff not err, but he cannot be a heretic even as a particular person by pertinaciously believing something false against the faith. So again, neither in his magisterium nor privately. And by the way, just to show that I'm not redefining his use of the term error here, I'll point out that in his day and for centuries even later, a lot of the theologians did not seem to distinguish between infallible teachings of a pope, non-infallible teachings of a pope, and then private opinions of a pope. That middle category of non-infallible teachings of a pope, it's implicitly there, but they don't really address it a whole lot and deal with it a whole lot. In most cases, they just kind of gloss over it. And they focus on those two other categories, what he teaches infallibly or what he does in his private person and says in his private person. And this huge gap of everything in between, which would be authoritative teachings that are not private, they're authoritative, they're part of his ministry, but they're not infallible. They don't really address that a whole lot. So when he's speaking here of error, he's not talking about of lower grades of error, that the Pope can't err in his magisterium in lower grades. He's not talking about that, because he's specifically talking about in the context of heresy. And moreover, they don't really deal with that middle category, unfortunately. So when he talks about error here, he's talking about in questions of dogma and matters of faith. Not necessarily in, other lower levels of doctrine. It says, it is proved because it seems to require the sweet disposition of the providence of God. In other words, God would not providentially allow for the Pope to either be a formal heretic or to teach heresy in his magisterium. For the Pope not only should not, but cannot preach heresy, but rather should always preach the truth. He will certainly do that, since the Lord commanded him to confirm his brethren. And for that reason added, I have prayed for thee that thy faith shall not fail. That is, that at least the preaching of the true faith shall not fail in thy throne. How, I ask, will a heretical pope confirm the brethren in faith and always preach the truth? Certainly God can wrench the confession of the true faith out of the heart of a heretic, just as he placed the words in the mouth of Balaam's donkey. Still, this seems to be a great violence, and not in keeping with the providence of God that sweetly disposes all things. It is proved, for to this point no pope has been a heretic. So he says even up until his day in the 1500s, no pope has been a heretic. Or certainly it cannot be proven that any of them were heretics. Therefore, it is a sign that such a thing cannot be. So, as I've pointed out before, Bellarmine doesn't believe that a pope could be a heretic, not a formal heretic. It seems that he believes that, it's possible one could maybe through ignorance be in a state of material heresy, but he doesn't believe that a pope could formally be a heretic or teach heresy. Now, isn't that odd, given how many people who are constantly raising Bellarmine in defense of the position that a heretical pope automatically loses his office, completely taking Bellarmine out of context? Because he's theorizing there, if you had a heretical pope, he was of the opinion, and it was just an opinion, that the pope would automatically lose office if he's a formal heretic. Actually, I'm sorry, not a formal heretic. If he's a manifest heretic, that is, he's been rebuked twice. That was Bellarmine's view. Not just a formal heretic, but if he was a manifest heretic, that is, he's been rebuked twice by the proper authorities and he still maintains it, then he automatically loses office, according to Bellarmine. And that was just merely an opinion. But this was more of a theological exercise that Bellarmine was engaging in because he didn't believe that that could ever even happen. As we see here, Bellarmine doesn't believe a pope could ever be in this situation, that he would be in a state of manifest heresy and therefore lose the papal office. He doesn't believe that. But what people will do is they will quote, I've seen Taylor Marshall do it, and I see a lot of Sedevacantists do it. They will quote, I saw Father James Altman do it, also Sedevacantists now. They will take Bellarmine and they'll point to these theoretical discussions that he has, and they'll confuse what he says about a manifest heretic with somehow a formal heretic. They confuse those things. They don't seem to realize what he believes about a manifest heretic. And then they also think that this was his view, when in fact he's saying, well, if the Pope could be a heretic, then this is the view I would maintain. But in fact, I don't believe this view because he can't be a heretic. That was Bellarmine's view. They always miss that latter part. Bellarmine didn't even believe this. So if Bellarmine were alive today, he would rebuke all those people who are saying that maybe Pope Francis is a heretic or has lost the papacy. Father James Altman was saying Pope Francis teaches heresy and has lost the papacy. And therefore he's in a, right now he's a Sedevacantist because he doesn't believe there is a Pope. So they'll take Bellarmine, completely abuse him, misunderstand, and then neglect all this other stuff that Bellarmine says, that a Pope can't even be a formal heretic. And again, if he were alive today, he would be correcting all of these people. And yet they're trying to use him to support their position. It's interesting because Bellarmine cannot be used to substantiate their claim for the reasons I've mentioned here. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see the full video, go to the link in the description. And also, while you're at it, hit the subscribe button. God bless. Are you confused about how Catholic teaching authority works? With encyclicals, papal bulls, councils, and many other things, it's easy to get confused on what is authoritative and what is not. Fortunately, at MaximusInstitute.com, I have prepared a course explaining the magisterium from A to Z. Visit the website and check out the course Understanding the Magisterium for more information.